Welcome to Pink Blade.
Here, we don't just watch stories, we step inside them.
Today, we're diving deep into one chapter only.
Precisely. We are ignoring all the noise of what comes next, and
Yeah.
we're just focusing entirely, singularly on 1 hour of television.
And what an hour. We are looking exclusively at Bridgerton, Season 1, Episode 4. It's titled An Affair of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before we even start, I have to throw up the big red stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening to this, we are absolutely assuming you have seen this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I can't stress this enough, we are going to assume you have not seen anything beyond it.
That is the rule. It's the only way to do a deep dive properly. We have to live in the immediate aftermath of this episode. We don't know who ends up with who. We don't know what happens next season.
Right.
We only know what episode 4 has given us.
Which is a lot. I mean, honestly, I think I held my breath for probably the last 15, 20 minutes of this one.
I think everyone did. You're not alone in that. This
Oh.
episode is, it's widely considered the narrative fulcrum of the entire season. It's the pivot point.
The fulcrum, I like that.
It's the moment the show stops being this, polite, fluffy game of fake dating and suddenly realizes, oh, wait, these people have real feelings, and those feelings might actually get someone killed.
It's a total genre shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
We go from a rom-com to like a life or death thriller in the blink of an eye.
That's a perfect way to describe it. We move from the safety of the ballroom with its whispers and glances to the damp, cold grass of a dueling ground at dawn.
And our mission today is to analyze exactly why and how this episode pulls off that turn so effectively.
And to help us do that, we've got just a stack of incredible sources. We've got some high-level analysis from Collider, really deep character breakdowns from the folks at Lady Geeks Media.
Yep.
We also have behind-the-scenes transcripts from Shondaland and Netflix, which, show us the technical craft. And then, of course, some very spirited fan discussions from Reddit and the wonderfully named source, Bridgerfuck.
I love that we have such a mix. We have the critical analysis, the technical breakdown of the music and sets, and then that raw, unfiltered, oh my God, did you see his forearms? Energy from the internet.
Well, you need both to really get it, right?
Yeah.
To understand the phenomenon of this show, it appeals to the brain and, the heart.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the title. An Affair of Honor. In, our modern world, honor feels like this vague, almost antiquated concept.
Right. It's a little quaint.
Yeah, like, oh, I promise I'll do the dishes on my honor. It's a vibe. But in this show, in 1813 London, it feels heavier.
It's not just heavier, it's structural. It's the bedrock of their entire society. One of the Collider pieces points out that this episode explores honor through 3 different lenses: Anthony's, Simon's, and Daphne's.
Okay.
But to really get it, you have to strip away the romance novel gloss. In this world, honor isn't a feeling, it's currency.
When you say currency, you mean it literally like buys things.
Right.
Or
Effectively, yes. Think about it like a modern credit score, but one that encompasses your entire family's financial future, your social standing, everything. If a gentleman lost his honor, say, by backing down from a challenge or being exposed as a liar, he was socially bankrupt.
Socially bankrupt.
He couldn't sign contracts. He wouldn't be invited to the clubs and drawing rooms where business deals happened. His life as he knew it was over. But for a woman?
Oh, for a woman, it's catastrophic. It's a whole other level.
It's annihilation. The source from Bridgerfuck makes a really poignant observation here. It argues that a woman's entire life, her economic security, her physical safety, her ability to be a mother, is reduced to a single fragile commodity: her virtue.
There's that line that Daphne delivers to Anthony. I wrote it down because it actually made me angry. She says, "You have no idea what it is to be a woman, to have one's entire life reduced to a single moment."
That line is the thesis statement of the entire episode. It's everything. Anthony thinks he's protecting her honor, but what he's actually doing is gambling with her life.
And he doesn't see it that way at all.
No. The article notes that a man can have a dozen moments of indiscretion, a dozen mistakes, and he can recover. A woman has one moment, and if it's seen by the wrong person, she is destitute, ruined.
It's game over with no restart button. And it's terrifying when you actually stop and think about the pressure that puts on a teenage girl, really.
Which leads us right into this massive theme of agency, or, more to the point, the complete lack of it for the women.
Right.
The review from Lady Geeks Media basically just shouts agency from the rooftops. They argue it's the fundamental theme of this episode because what you are watching is a series of men well-intentioned or not trying to make decisions for Daphne.
It is incredibly frustrating to watch. First, you have Anthony, her brother, who tried to marry her off to Nigel Burbrook, of all people.
The worst.
And now he's trying to manage the fallout with Simon by, challenging him to a duel to the death.
A terrible salute.
Then you have Simon, who's deciding on his own that he can't marry her, to save her from his own baggage, from his vow. It's like they're playing chess, and Daphne is just the pawn they're moving around the board.
And nobody's asking the pawn where she wants to move.
Exactly.
It highlights this huge agency gap. And it's not just Daphne. The Bridgerfuck source brings up Eloise here, too, and draws this fascinating parallel between the two sisters.
Oh, that's interesting. How so?
Well, while Daphne is on the board, trying desperately to win the game, Eloise is off to the side, analyzing the rules and realizing the whole game is rigged.
Eloise is definitely the audience surrogate in that way. She's the one looking at all this and just going, this is insane.
She observes that being a woman involves this exhausting game of pretend. There's a specific quote, the source pulls, that I love. The game of pretend you feel you must endlessly maintain.
Ugh, that hit me hard.
Yeah.
It's the sheer exhaustion of it. It's not just about following rules. It's about the performance.
Yeah.
You have to pretend to be perfect, pretend to be unbothered, pretend not to have your own desires.
And if you slip for 1 second like Daphne does in that garden, the whole game just collapses.
But before we get to the collapse, which we absolutely will, we have to talk about the setup. We have to talk about the triangle. Because on paper, Daphne is winning the lottery.
Oh, she is having the best season of anyone in London. She has a literal prince courting her.
Prince Friedrich. Can we just take a moment for him? Lady Geeks Media calls him a sweet little honeycomb, which is just the most accurate description I have ever heard.
It really is. I mean, let's look at his stats. He's a Prince of Prussia. He's undeniably handsome, classic blonde, blue eyes.
He's incredibly wealthy. He gives her a diamond necklace just because it's a Tuesday.
And he's nice. He is a genuinely nice, decent guy. He's respectful. He asks her to dance. He isn't brooding or mysterious. He's basically a golden retriever with a title and a trust fund.
He is the safe option with a capital S, capital O. He represents security, status, a life of complete ease. In any other story, he is the fairy tale ending.
But then you have Simon, the Duke, who is, well, he is not safe.
Not at all.
No. Simon represents passion, but with that comes instability. He has deep trauma. He has this all-consuming vendetta against his dead father. He has sworn never, ever to marry or have a family.
And yet Daphne is bored to tears by the prince. You see it in her eyes when he's talking to her. She's just vacant.
Because the prince offers her a role to play. Being the princess is just another version of the perfect debutante role she's already tired of. Simon offers her something else entirely.
A partner in crime.
Yes. Lady Geeks Media points out this exact tension. Daphne is ostensibly winning the marriage market. She's got the prince ready to propose, but she is emotionally losing. She's miserable.
She wants the man who she has this genuine electric connection with, even if that connection started as a complete ruse. She wants the person she can laugh with, not just the person she has to pose for portraits with.
And that brings us to the hook of this episode. Why is episode 4 the turning point? Usually in these kinds of stories, the fake dating trope drags on for a while. It's fun, it's cute, they almost get caught, they laugh it off.
Right, you milked that for a few episodes. But here, the show just says, nope, we're done with that. It breaks the fourth wall of their own performance.
And Collider notes that this is where the will they, won't they shifts from, lighthearted flirtation to this high-intensity life or death confrontation. The fake feelings become undeniably real, and they can't hide it anymore.
But why blow it up so early? In episode 4, isn't that kind of risky storytelling? I mean, usually you save the big dramatic breakup for episode 7 or 8.
It is a risk, but it's a brilliant one. By blowing up the ruse now, the writers are telling you, the audience, that the fake dating was never the main plot.
Oh, that's a good point.
The main plot is the fallout. The Bridgerfuck article compares the shift to a thriller. We move from social ruin being the primary threat to actual literal death being the threat.
It really does escalate so quickly. We go from ballroom whispers and stolen glances to I'm going to shoot you at dawn in the span of, 20 minutes of screen time?
It's the whirlwind hour. That's what Collider called it. And it's apt. The episode forces everyone to stop posturing. Anthony, Simon, Daphne, they are all stripped of their social masks.
And that stripping away reveals the core conflict, which is choice. I was reading the Lady Geeks media piece, and they emphasize that love is a choice.
Exactly. And in this single hour, we see Anthony choosing his duty to his family over his own desire for Sienna. He breaks it off with her because he finally realizes he has to be the head of the family.
It breaks his heart.
It does. And then you see Simon choosing his vow to his father, this vow of vengeance, over his love for Daphne.
And then, of course, you see Daphne making the biggest choice of all. She chooses to intervene. She chooses to physically throw herself into the middle of a men's duel.
Which is this massive act of agency in a world that is designed to deny her any.
Okay, so what does this all mean? It means we have to break down the scenes where these choices happen. Because there are 3 specific scenes that the sources they keep coming back to them, and we have to start at the Trowbridge Ball.
Yes. The ball. Now, up until this point, the balls in Bridgerton have been very Regency.
Very vanilla. Pastels, bright lights, lots of flowers, very proper.
Correct. But the Trowbridge Ball, it's different.
It is very different. I was reading through the Reddit discussion threads and the Shondaland Inside the Balls transcript, and they all describe the aesthetic as darker, almost burlesque.
The Shondaland source explains that the Trowbridge Ball was designed to feel progressive. It's meant to be a space where people can express their inner gender or sexuality more freely than at, say, the very rigid Danbury Ball.
The first thing you notice are the colors.
Yeah.
It's just stark black and white. It feels almost modern and graphic.
And the bird cages. Did you notice the performers?
Yes. How could you miss them? There are women literally dancing inside these giant ornate bird cages that are suspended in the room.
It's visually stunning, but it's also doubly symbolic, isn't it? It represents how the characters, especially the women, are trapped in these societal expectations, these gilded cages, even at a party that's supposed to be free and uninhibited.
It sets this tone of dangerous energy. It's sultry. The air just feels thicker somehow.
Which is the perfect backdrop for what happens in the garden. This is the scene everyone talks about.
The garden scene. So Simon tries to leave. He's doing the quote-unquote noble thing, running away to foreign lands to remove himself from the equation.
Right. He's trying to protect her by abandoning her.
And Daphne follows him out into this dark hedge maze. She confronts him. She's finally demanding answers. She's done with the games.
And this is where the acting is just superb.
Yeah.
You can see Simon trying so desperately to maintain his walls, but Daphne's she's hammering at them with everything she's got.
And then the explosion.
It's not just a kiss, it's a combustion.
Collider calls it monumental. It is the total breakdown of their agreement, their ruse, their friendship, everything.
Well, think about the pressure cooker these two have been in. Simon has been forced to stand by and watch her with the prince, and he's just consumed by jealousy. Daphne has been feeling abandoned and confused and heartbroken. All of that repressed emotion just pours into that single moment.
It's desperate. It's messy. It's not a pretty fairy tale kiss. It feels real. But then the horror movie element kicks in.
The witness.
Oh, yes. We're so caught up in the romance. The music is swelling. They pull apart, breathless. And then the camera pans.
Slowly into the shadows.
And there she is, Cressida Cowper.
The worst possible person. The source Bridgerfuck describes her as the villain in the fabric shop window, but here she's something much scarier. She's the silent observer.
She doesn't say a word. She doesn't gasp. She just watches. And that silence is more terrifying than any scream would have been.
And just seeing her there changes everything. It changes the genre from romance to thriller instantly, because now it's not just, oh, we shouldn't have done that. It's, my life is over.
Because of that currency of honor we talked about. If Cressida talks, Daphne is ruined. Utterly. The Bridgertons are ruined. No one will marry Daphne. Her sisters will be tainted by association. It's a social nuclear bomb.
Which leads Anthony, her brother, to demand the only solution his rigid code of honor allows. And when Simon refuses, well, that leads us directly to the next key scene, the duel at dawn.
The atmosphere here is it's crucial. Lady Geeks Media praises the cinematography. That pale early morning light, the silence, the mist rising from the grass. It feels so cold.
It feels deadly.
And what stands out to me in this scene is Anthony. It's all about Jonathan Bailey's acting. Lady Geeks Media points this out specifically, his shaking hands.
Yes, tell me about that.
Well, Anthony's usually so cocky, so in control. He's the Viscount, he barks orders. But here, as he's loading the pistol, his hands are visibly trembling.
It's a crack in the arm.
A huge one. He's trying so hard to be the patriarch, to be the man he thinks his father was. But you can see he is terrified. He refuses to speak to Benedict II. Benedict tries to talk to him, and he just shuts him down. That is all.
That silence is so loud. Lady Geeks analyzes his psychology here. He is willing to die to fix his mistake. He blames himself entirely for letting Simon get close to Daphne. But he's also just a young man who doesn't want to die. He's realizing the true, brutal cost of this honor system he lives by.
And Simon is no better. He's just standing there accepting it. He's effectively suicidal at this point.
He is. He has decided, I cannot marry her because of my vow, so the only honorable alternative is to let her brother shoot me. It's an insane conclusion.
It's so messed up. He's choosing extinction over breaking a promise to a dead man who hated him.
It just shows you the depth of his trauma. His hatred for his father and the vow that came from it is stronger than his own will to live.
Until Daphne rides in.
The cape moment.
Oh, the cape. Lady Geeks love the cape. I love the cape. She rides in on that horse, her cape flying behind her. She looks like a superhero.
She physically inserts herself into this sacred male space of violence. Usually in these kinds of stories, the men fight, one dies, and the woman cries at the funeral. Daphne just says, no, not on my watch.
I am stopping this horse, and I am stopping this duel. She takes control. She demands to know why. And that leads to the devastating revelation about Simon's vow.
But before we get to the resolution of that, you know we have to rewind.
I do, because there is one scene that Lady Geeks Media insists we discuss, and frankly, the internet insists we discuss it.
You are referring, of course, to the boxing match.
I am referring to the boxing match, or more specifically, the rolling up of the sleeves.
Yes, the forearm moment.
It's iconic. It's everywhere. You can't go on Reddit or Tumblr without seeing a GIF of that moment. It's legendary.
And Lady Geeks Media explicitly calls this a prime example of the female gaze at work.
Okay, so explain that for anyone listening who might not know the term.
Well, the male gaze is a film theory term that describes how cameras in movies and TV usually objectify women, lingering on legs, cleavage, making them objects of desire for a presumed male audience. Female gaze flips that. Here, the camera is lingering on Simon.
It's objectifying him for a female audience.
It is. It's focusing on his back muscles, the sweat on his skin, and yes, the deliberate, slow rolling up of the sleeves to reveal his forearms.
But it serves a narrative purpose too, right? It's not just fan service.
Oh, it absolutely is. It shows Simon's aggression, his pent-up frustration. He's beating up Will Mondrich because he's really mad at himself for wanting Daphne, for letting things get so complicated. He's punishing himself.
Sure. Narrative purpose. But let's be real. It also clearly highlights Daphne's physical attraction to him. She's watching this raw, violent display, and instead of being repulsed by it, she's intrigued.
She is mesmerized. And that physical attraction is crucial to the story. It's what drives her reckless behavior later in the garden. She wants him. It's not just an emotional connection, it's primal.
Which makes the stakes of the duel even higher, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
She isn't just saving a friend, she's saving the man she physically, desperately desires.
Absolutely. Okay, I want to pivot for a second to the how. We've talked about the story, but let's look under the hood. We have some really cool insights from the people who actually made this episode happen.
Yes, the behind-the-scenes material is so fascinating. I was reading a transcript from Chris Bowers, the composer, via Netflix's The Backdrop series.
The music in Bridgerton is basically a character in itself. I mean, we all know the string quartet covers of pop songs, but the original score is doing so much heavy lifting.
So much. And Chris Bowers explains that for the scene where Daphne and Simon first formed their alliance way back in episode 1, there were literal fireworks in the background. And he used these sharp, percussive hits in the score to match the explosions.
And he brings that motif back here.
He does. The theme carries through. It subconsciously reminds us of that initial spark they had. But specifically for this episode, he talks about Daphne's main theme, which is called Flawless, My Dear.
That's the piano piece, right? The one that feels a little frantic.
Exactly. He says it represents her anxiety and the immense pressure to be perfect. It's played on high-pitched, fast, almost frantic strings. He says it's supposed to feel like a panic attack in a corset.
Oh, that makes so much sense. That's a perfect description.
But Bowers notes that as the relationship with Simon deepens in this episode, he introduces a counter-melody.
A counter melody. So what does that do?
So you have her frantic, high-pitched, flawless theme playing, and then this new melody weaves in underneath it. It's played on lower, darker instruments, cellos, basses.
And that represents Simon.
Exactly. It literally grounds the high-pitched anxiety of her theme. Musically, he is calming her down without them even saying a word. It's pure musical storytelling.
Wow. That is brilliant. It tells us they belong together before they even admit it to themselves.
The choreography does the same thing. The Shondaland Inside the Balls video had the choreographer talking about how the dance isn't just movement, it's a nonverbal conversation.
They mentioned something about wrapping the shoulders and posture, right?
Yes. In modern dancing, or even just how we carry ourselves today, we tend to get low. We drop our center of gravity. We slouch. In Regency dancing, it's all about raising the neck,
It's about presentation, projecting confidence and status.
which feels so restrictive. You have to hold yourself perfectly upright, chin up, shoulders back, at all times.
It is incredibly restrictive. But that restriction is what makes the moments of touch, a hand on a waist, a breath on a neck, so much more electric. Because the bodies are so controlled, the brief breaking of that control feels massive.
And the sets emphasize that contrast too, don't they? We talk about the bird cages at the Trowbridge Wall, but if you compare that to Vauxhall Gardens from the first episode,
Right. Vauxhall was outside, bright lights, public, full of curiosity. It was wide open. Trowbridge is inside, dark, exclusive, and claustrophobic.
the Shondaland source notes that the birdcage element is meant to symbolize entrapment. The characters are moving from a world of possibility, which was Vauxhall, to a world of consequences at Trowbridge.
I love that. The set design is literally closing in on them as the trap of their own scandal closes in.
Now, speaking of closing in, let's talk about the actors. Because Lady Geeks Media and Wherever I Look really highlighted some specific performance choices that made this episode so powerful.
We have to start with Regé-Jean Page as Simon.
We do. There was that specific moment at the duel where Daphne says, "I know you do not love me."
And his face. Just his face in that moment.
He doesn't say a single word, right? He just looks at her.
And Lady Geeks Media describes his expression as a harrowing exhibition of prodigious guilt and pain.
It's devastating. Because the tragedy of it all, and the audience knows this, is that he does love her.
He loves her so much that he's willing to die rather than trap her in what he believes will be a miserable childless marriage. He thinks he is saving her.
Which is a very twisted form of love, but it's love nonetheless. And Page conveys all of that just with his eyes. It's a masterclass in acting without speaking.
And then there's Jonathan Bailey as Anthony. The source, Wherever I Look, notes his darkened fury coupled with betrayal.
Anthony is so fascinating here because he's playing two roles at once. He's the patriarch, barking orders, doing the Viscount, but beneath that, as the source notes, he just feels like a lost son.
There's that tiny scene with Violet, his mother, right before the ball. Did you catch that?
The snack scene, yes.
He's sneaking food and a drink before the party. He's shoving a roll into his mouth like a teenager.
Lady Geeks love that detail. It shows the cracks in his armor. In public, he's the Viscount Bridgerton. In private, he's just a hungry, stressed-out guy trying to fill his dad's shoes and failing miserably.
It makes him human. It makes you forgive him almost for being so stubborn about the duel.
And then Phoebe Dynevor as Daphne. The line that broke everyone.
I don't understand. You would rather die than marry me.
It's the emotional anchor of the entire episode. Reddit users, critics, everyone cites this as the moment Daphne transitions from a naive debutante into a one who is realizing the painful complexity of the world.
She realizes love isn't a magic wand. It's not enough to save him from his own demons. It's a truly heartbreaking realization for her.
Which brings us to the fans.
Right.
Because the fans, they had some thoughts.
Oh, the internet was alive after this episode aired. I went down a deep, deep rabbit hole on Reddit reading the immediate reactions.
And what was the main topic of discussion? Let me guess. It's the cannot versus will not distinction.
Of course, this is the massive talking point. So in the episode, Simon tells Daphne in a moment of extreme duress that he cannot have children.
And Daphne logically hears, "I am physically unable to have children."
Correct. She interprets it as a medical issue, as infertility.
But we, the audience, we know, or at least we strongly suspect from the flashbacks to his father, that it's a choice. It's a vow he made on his father's deathbed.
And this just sparked a huge ethical debate online. Is Simon lying? Or is he just speaking his own very twisted truth?
I mean, come on. It feels like a lie by omission. A really big one. He has to know what she thinks he means. He lets her believe it.
It is a deception, no question. But the Bridgerfuck source frames it as a tragic lie. They argue that in Simon's traumatized mind, he truly believes he cannot break his vow. To him, breaking that promise to his monstrous father is a psychological impossibility. So when he says, "I cannot," he isn't thinking about biology, he's thinking about his soul.
But for Daphne, who we know wants to be a mother more than anything else in the world, it's a deal breaker. Or it should be.
And yet when he says, "I cannot give you children," she still agrees to marry him.
Well, to save his life. Her thought process is, okay, he can't have kids, that's sad, But I'd rather have him alive and childless than have him dead.
Exactly. She makes this enormous sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice based on partial, misleading information.
We also have to mention the thirst factor again. We touched on the forearms, but Lady Geek's media explicitly notes that fans were reacting to that boxing scene not just as a plot point, but as, like, a cultural moment.
It was rare for period dramas to cater so openly and deliberately to the female gaze. Usually we are the ones being asked to look at the women, the dresses, the cleavage, the jewels. Here, the camera was objectifying the Duke. And the fans appreciated it.
Appreciated is a very polite word for it.
Yeah.
They devoured it. It became the defining image of the entire episode for a lot of people.
And finally, the fans really picked up on that burlesque vibe of the ball we mentioned. Reddit users were all talking about the sexual energy of the Trowbridge ball. They felt it set the stage for what happened in the garden.
It wasn't a coincidence. The environment made them do it.
Well, the environment certainly lowered their inhibitions. It gave them permission.
So we've looked at the social stakes, the scenes, the acting, the fans. But what is the big question here? What does this episode leave us asking as the credits roll?
The Bridgerfuck article poses a really interesting thematic question, which is this. Does love conquer all, or does it change nothing?
Ooh. That connects right back to that conversation between Lady Danbury and Simon, doesn't it?
It does. Lady Danbury is the optimist. She's the believer. She tells him the story of the king and queen, how their love bridged two worlds and integrated society. She firmly believes that love conquers all.
But Simon is the ultimate cynic.
Simon says flat out, love changes nothing. He's so deeply traumatized, he believes the world is cruel and fixed, and that his father's cruelty is the defining, unchangeable truth of his life.
And this episode leaves us, the audience, hanging right between those two philosophies. Is love enough to overcome Simon's vow of vengeance? Is it enough to overcome the rigid rules of society that Anthony is trying to enforce?
It's the central tension. The episode ends with an agreement to marry. They're going to the altar. But it's a marriage based on a lie, or at the very least, a profound and tragic misunderstanding.
So the question isn't, will they marry anymore? We know they are engaged. The question is, can a marriage possibly survive when one person thinks they are sacrificing their dream of motherhood for a physical impossibility, while the other is sacrificing their soul for love?
It's an incredibly precarious foundation. It's a house built on sand.
It's a time bomb just waiting to go off.
And here is a provocative thought to leave you with. We often talk about how Simon is deceiving Daphne, and he is. But consider it from Daphne's position for a moment. She is entering this marriage believing she is saving him.
Right. She thinks she's the hero of the story.
She feels noble. She thinks she is accepting his flaw, his supposed infertility, out of the goodness of her heart. But what happens when she realizes she hasn't saved him from a physical ailment at all? What happens when she learns that she has been drafted, without her consent, into his psychological war with a dead man?
Whoa.
She thinks she's the hero of a romance novel, but she might actually be a pawn in a revenge tragedy.
That is a terrifying thought, and one that completely changes how you see that final scene.
Indeed. It's gonna be messy.
That was today's deep dive.
Same story, new layers.
This is Pink Blade.